Welcome to the second episode of Factory Forward, the podcast dedicated to advancing manufacturing and propelling factories into the future. Today, we are in conversation with Beau. In this episode, your host and CEO of Retrocausal, Zeeshan and Beau will discuss the importance of culture and leadership in successful lean implementations. They will shed light on how, by fostering a collaborative environment and empowering employees, organizations can achieve significant improvements in efficiency, quality, and overall performance. Now, meet your host, Zeeshan.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast featuring Beau, founder and president of the Effective Syndicate. With over 2 decades in manufacturing, Beau has led transformative changes at companies like Rock10 and Serta Simmons Bedding, specializing in Lean and Six Sigma methodologies. At the Effective Syndicate, he focuses on creating sustainable improvements and exceptional leadership within the manufacturing sector. Join us as we explore Beau's practical insights and experiences in enhancing manufacturing performance and profitability. Hi, Beau. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Zeeshan. Thank you for having me.
Beau, I'll jump right in because I can't wait to ask you some of these questions. In what ways do traditional manufacturing models fail when lean succeeds, and can traditional methods still have a place in modern manufacturing?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know how to separate traditional manufacturing from good manufacturing practices. Our approach is the answer is always culture, right? So no matter what problem a manufacturer is facing, there's a culture element that is at the root of it. And so I have a tendency to think of traditional manufacturing as there's a boss and there's an employee, and the boss tells the employee what to do, and they do it to some degree. Where I see lean is and Six Sigma as being more collaborative, right? So we're working with the operators who are doing the work and saying, hey, what's a better way to do this? How do we make it safer, higher quality, cheaper? And so I don't know that I could think about traditional manufacturing. I think that is the right way to do manufacturing, regardless if you call it traditional or modern. So the collaborative nature is what I see as the actual strongest point. More important than the tools, more important than the methodologies, is how do we get everybody working together? That's the magic that happens.
Brilliant. I love that, and I love a lot of your content around that question as well, which is why I asked that. So, Beau, lean transformations are often a little bit idealized. Can you share an example where lean implementation did not go as planned, and what lessons were learned?
Unfortunately, I can, Zeeshan. There's a few of them, and the way that I believe it in my heart, I'm almost cult-like in my belief of lean. Lean doesn't fail, right? Leadership fails. And so if the leaders who are saying they want lean don't navigate, they don't communicate, they don't engage, they don't empower, they don't do the right things to facilitate a lean transformation, that will cause the failure. The methods and the approach of lean, I've never seen those fail, provided there is somebody that is stewarding them into the organization. That, to me, that's the failure mode that the few organizations that I've seen struggle and not get it right, it was because they weren't driving it from a leadership perspective, not from a tool and technique and methodology perspective.
Wow, that's insightful. Yeah, I always say that you really need to get into the hearts and minds of people before any kind of transformation can be successful. Absolutely, I agree 100%. Beau, in a lot of your posts, I see that you talk about 5S, especially recently. You've mentioned that starting with 5S is non-threatening and helps gain buy-in for lean initiatives. Have you encountered situations? First of all, can you elaborate that a little bit more? And have you encountered situations where this approach has backfired or has been met with skepticism?
Sure. Yeah. So the idea of starting with 5S is that it's not threatening, right? If you and I were working together and either of us said to the other one, hey, let's clean up a little bit. Let's get our workplace a little orderly. There's stuff on the floor. There's old stuff piled up, the tools that don't work. There's equipment, that thing's leaking on the floor over there. it's hard for anybody to say, no, I really like the mess that I'm working in, right? It doesn't make sense. So that's the reason that we want to start there, because now I'm, as an employee, if you're bringing lean to me and I'm an employee, I don't feel threatened by that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're standing there with a stopwatch doing a time observation, right, and watching how things are laid out and how I'm moving, that feels a little, ugh, right? Oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? And why is he judging me? And who's this guy? All of that stuff comes up. So that's the reason that we like to start there, is it gives us the opportunity to start the communication of, hey, we're in this together. We're going to win or lose together. I need your opinions. I need your thoughts. I need your ideas. As far as having been met with skepticism, I think my experience is that people don't like change. So it doesn't matter what you're going to bring to them, whether it's 5S or lean or a automation or a new tool or a new piece of equipment. There's skepticism for everybody. There's enough skepticism for us all to have it. And again, that ties back to the leadership perspective of the leader's responsibility of explaining, hey, here's what we're doing and here's why it's important. And I see a lot of companies, they get lost in, we're trying to cut cost and improve profitability. The employee who's working third shift at 2 a.m. does not care about shareholder value. He or she cares about taking care of their family, doing a good job, having a safe place to work. And so if we as leaders don't lay out the vision and say, guys, here's what we're going to do and here's why it's really important, and oh, by the way, here's what's in it for you, that's when those troubles that you talked about with lean transformations failing and organizations being stuck and they're not moving forward. So they're all met with skepticism. And again, it just requires good leadership.
Love that. That makes a ton of sense. Beau, you distinguish between Lean and Six Sigma in your posts. Could integrating these two methodologies be the future of manufacturing efficiency, or do they work better in isolation?
Great question. I can't tell you how much time I spend fielding questions like that from customers, potential customers. I don't mean that they should be kept separate. I mean that they're two different methodologies, right? So if all I've got's a hammer, then everything starts looking like a nail, right? And so understanding the philosophy and the theories and the purpose behind each of those methodologies is really, really important. So lean is about culture, it's about involvement, it's about speed, it's about engagement. Six Sigma is really about precision, accuracy, repeatability. And so if I'm building a low-cost widget and I'm going to build 500 of them an hour, my thought process needs to be, I've got to be very efficient because I can't go slow, versus I'm building one nuclear armament trigger per month. And if this thing doesn't work, all kinds of bad stuff happens. I need to be really, really precise. And so it's not so much as they're different in that I want to keep them separate. It's they're different in they're solving different questions. You can use you can use Six Sigma to solve some lean problems, and you can use lean to solve some Six Sigma problems. But understanding what is it that we're really trying to accomplish should direct you to which methodology makes the most sense.
Wow, that's a really good characterization. I've never heard it put that way. Really appreciate it, and I like coming at it from a statistics person myself. I really appreciate that. That's really good. Beau, how do lean principles transform company culture beyond just operational efficiency? Sort of continuing the thread that you're talking about. Can lean also negatively affect workplace culture if not implemented with care?
It can. We've seen cases, and when I first started lean in literally the year 2000, so I'm coming up on 25 years next year. The shop floor where I was working, they called the office people the carpet walkers, and there was this wall, and a lot of the manufacturing companies who will listen to this are going to be relating to this. Oh yeah, there is that wall. There's they think the people in the carpet walkers, they've got it easy, and we're just out here sweating it out. And so the idea, again, with lean is I want to build a culture of teamwork, collaboration. Let's take care of each other. Let's look out for each other. Let's give a crap about each other. So can lean hurt the culture if not implemented with care. There was a company that I was talking to after they had pursued some lean, and what I had learned was they leaned out a process that freed up 2 or 3 workers. And rather than redeploying those workers and finding a higher value use for them, they started reducing the headcount.
Right.
And so now the juxtaposition is, all right, I'm a leader and I'm talking to an operator and say, hey, we need to improve this process. And I'm looking around and my buddy just got fired after he helped you improve his process.
Wow.
It's a non-starter. And so understanding that lean as a philosophy should be a growth methodology, not a cost-cutting initiative. So if you're just going to cut costs, just be a man and cut, or woman, cut the cost.
Yeah.
Don't wrap it up in some kind of continuous improvement thing. So yes, there is a strategic nature to starting a continuous improvement journey. A lot of organizations just miss that point.
Wow. Fantastic point. Absolutely. So, Beau, one thing that I heard for the first time looking at your videos and your LinkedIn posts was that you introduced this concept of voice of team, or voice of the team. Uh, you talk about it as pivotal. Can you talk a little bit more about this? What is voice of the team? What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. So I think everybody's heard the voice of the customer, right? You do some market research, you do a survey, you do some phone calls. Hey, how do you like dealing with us? What we're trying to do with the voice of the team, again, because our whole philosophy is, and actually I wear a little bracelet here. I'll send you one, Zeeshan.
Please.
It says the answer is culture, right? And back to the culture, I need to understand how people who are currently working there feel about working there. Do they trust their leadership? Do they understand what the company's mission, vision, and values are? Do they understand what we're trying to accomplish? Do they understand what winning means? Do they understand how things are going? And as we're starting a transformation, if we do that voice of the team, and we've got a survey that we use, and it comes back and there's low trust, there's low communication, there's the feeling, hey, we're successful in spite of our bosses. Those guys are a bunch of nut jobs. We're able to go in and offer coaching to the executive team to say, guys, let's look at your rhythms and cadences too, right? Don't make this just about the shop floor. Let's make this organizational. If we don't take that step, then we have to discover it along the way. And we don't want to waste our customers' time to be 90 days into this thing to figure out, hey, people are not jiving with what y'all are doing as leaders. They don't trust you. There are communication problems everywhere. Now we've wasted that time and money and effort, and then we started. So we try to implement the voice of the team at the beginning and say, hey, let's talk to your folks. How do they feel about working at XYZ company? How do they feel about you and your team as leaders? How do they feel about the communication? That helps us set the path forward, because again, it's all about the culture. We can teach anybody how to do 5S. We can teach anybody how to do Kanban. You know what I mean? The tools are not the thing. It's the collaboration that is the magic of lean. And so many people get wrapped around the axle about, hey, let's just do tools. Let's do Kaizen. Yeah. It's only half the equation. If that, it might be less than half, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And, something else you talk about is, that lean, or the same thing, lean often requires a transformational leadership style. Have you seen where other leadership styles like transactional or laissez-faire that have been successful at implementing lean?
I have not. I have seen zero instances. Zeeshan, I believe that leadership is an active sport, right? It's not a passive activity where I've got the title and I'm the boss, and by virtue of that, I'm steering the organization. You may have seen this post. It was one of our most popular posts where we talked about the open door policy.
Yeah.
Very lame. In our opinion, the open door policy is as passive as you can get. If you're the leader, or you want to be a leader, go find the problems, go engage your people. Don't put it on them to walk through the shop floor, to walk through the office, to come into your open door and tell you about a problem. That's a lot of responsibility to put on people, versus I'm going to go talk to everybody. I'm going to go smile and say, how you doing? Man, what can I do to make your job easier? one of my favorite questions on the planet. What can I do to make your job easier? It facilitates conversation. It facilitates trust. It facilitates that I care about them. Then when I come back and say, hey, Joe, I need some help on this problem, I've already made those deposits. And Joe's like, absolutely, Beau, man, how can I help you? And so the hands off or laissez-faire passive leadership, we are not fans of. I don't think it works. I don't think it's ever going to get you anywhere close to world class.
Yeah. What can I do to help you? I'm going to remember that. That's going to help me in my business as well. Yeah, makes sense. So, Beau, a lot is being talked about. A lot of people are talking about AI and automation. How do you see the future of lean manufacturing in the next decade with these advancements? How are they affecting manufacturing floors in your experience, or are you doing something in that direction as well?
Super excited. The speed that AI and technology is coming at us is just breathtaking. So we're very excited about it. We see it as very collaborative. I think historically, when robotics first started showing up, people were very, they took it very personal. Oh, they're trying to replace me. What we look for are jobs that have 4 criteria: dull, dumb, dirty, or dangerous.
Right.
Nobody wants those jobs. People out of high school don't want those jobs. And as a human who cares about other humans, I loathe jobs where somebody's doing the same manual task for 8 hours a day. It has got to be just torture.
Yeah.
And so again, back to the culture, right? If we all buy into, hey guys, look, let's protect each other. You're doing a job that's dangerous. You're doing a job that's dumb, dull. Let's get rid of those and let's embrace technology so you can go do something that you're more excited about, or that helps you grow, or that helps you learn, or helps you develop. So it's not let's replace Joe with a robot. Let's protect Joe. Let Joe go do something he's more excited about. And let's get this robot over here doing this dumb thing that, doesn't add any value. It's just moving or lifting or that sort of stuff. So I hope it stays collaborative. And I think people are hopefully embracing the technology move versus resisting it and fighting against it to say, oh no, they're just trying to replace our jobs. We're trying to replace the jobs that nobody wants. So let's get together on this thing, because there's better opportunities for you, Mr. Operator.
I love that. Absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree with that. So, Beau, one last question that I ask all my guests on this podcast. What is the one thing manufacturers don't do enough of to be factory forward in 2024?
Great question. My belief is that not everybody, too often, everybody gets sucked into the day-to-day operation, right? So we call it working in the business. Today's schedule, today's production plan, today's customer, today's shipment. If everybody's looking at that, right, it's kind of heads down, we're watching what's happening, nobody's looking up and out. And so we spend a great deal of time coaching the executives with our clients on we've got to spend time deliberately working on the business. What does 3 years from now look like? What new markets, what new industries, what new technology do we need to embrace to say we're going to remain viable? There's no standing still in business, right? If you're standing still, you're dying, right? There's either growing or dying. It's binary, right? And that would be the thing that I think I see most frequently is like, hey, when do you do strategic planning? We had one 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting out of the day-to-day grind, intentionally pulling your team back to say, hey, let's look over the horizon. Let's see what's coming at us as best as we can, 12 months, 24, 36 months from now. So we've got a plan that we can then execute on the day-to-day basis. That's the failure mode that I see most frequent.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you, Beau. It was fantastic having you on our podcast. I'd recommend everybody who's listening to follow Beau on LinkedIn. I personally learn a lot from what he's talking about, what he's posting on leadership, on lean, and on leadership and lean in manufacturing. Thank you so much for being on this, and really appreciate you. Hope you
Absolutely.
join us again, actually. Yeah.
I would love to. I love talking about shop. I love talking about technology. I love talking about manufacturing. So anytime you need a pinch hitter or a fill-in guest, I'm your guy.
Thank you, Beau. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So I'm going to...
And that's a wrap on this powerhouse episode of Factory Forward. If you love this episode, share it with your network and keep the conversation going on social media using #FactoryForward. Until next time, keep challenging the status quo and striving for excellence. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Factory Forward.